Well, will wonders never cease as The Flash delivered an episode that was not too bad after all this time. So, as of now, this one is easily the best of the season. There was a couple of others. I'm blanking surprisingly on which ones that I thought, well, you know, for all intents and purposes, they handled themselves well. But those are those pale by comparison. This is almost getting back to form of what the Flash used to be when it was actually not bad. It was pretty good. In fact, a couple of episodes were really good, and then it just spiraled into the CW rinse, lather, repeat template. That's destroyed every other show they produced, and the ones following all of these never really had a chance. It was just lazy slap job stuff. Anyway, this one, once again, time travel. Which they never could think of anything else. Maybe that was it's one of the problems for the Flash show. And constant other speedsters being villains rather than exploring more of the other villains that the Flash has from the comics. But this show begins with time travel, and it was an interesting take on it where it suggested that the timeline had been distorted, had been changed right off from the bat, off from the beginning, and by a reverse Flash. And so that set up this, who was the original Flash, well, it might have looked like this guy, but he lived a different life and all that sort of thing. And then you get to the moment where Barry realizes he can travel through time, and he travels back to try to prevent his mother's death. And he sees his other self tell him not to do it. He waves him off. And so I always thought, well, that's the original Flash, right? And by the time we get to this episode, we discover, no, it's this Barry. So they do that with only a few episodes left. So it's the kind of thing that, it makes sense that they would revisit that to somewhat. And they probably always thought they would do something of this. Just a basic outline for it. But they probably should have ended this show a couple of seasons ago, and they would have had a more solid run. But it still kind of messes with the idea that, so it's him, but how could it be if it's that, the paradox and whatnot? Because it sets up the scenario where a reverse Flash does his plot to get Barry to get his speed powers earlier than he normally did, so they can hurry up and get him to travel through time so that he could go home. That was, the original plot for Reverse Flash at the time. So it's a bit of a mess, but it's only part one of the final episodes called New World. So are they just going to reboot everything yet again so that you can just, hey, rest assured those crappy episodes never happened now? I don't know, but aspects of that, I think, and the odds are that they didn't think it through. Very likely. And so it kind of messes up what seemed to be originally established. So that might be the case. But it's an interesting concept for them to revisit, and on the way out, I can understand them going back to this. So they start off with the usual crap, the other characters and their dumb stuff, Allegra and Chester, and he makes her a Colin Baker Doctor Who coat. Not exactly, but it's the same patchwork idea. It looks stupid for her costume. I mean, I know he's supposed to be a goofy idiot, but goddamn, even he's not that stupid. So anyway, but who cares? Then Keon has the power to literally turn into snow and form into, I don't know, who cares? She's writing a diary or some crap, and then Cecil and Joe are back together because she went home for the weekend. And then Barry and Iris are talking, and then, oh no, he disappears, and he's back in the past, and he doesn't know exactly when. Turns out he went all the way back to 2000, and it's the day his mother died. And He's like, oh no, but if I say the wrong thing, I'll change the timeline. Oh, and he goes and sees Joe, but he doesn't know how to tell him how to help him and all this stuff. Thawne is there. He zooms in and knocks him down into the street. And then his parents are there as well. And they rescue him. His dad treats him. Now, this is one of the failings where they instantly take a liking to him. Now, his mother does say, wow, he looks like my father did, or whatever, you know, like there's a family resemblance and all this stuff. And they invite him to their home. They feed him and all this stuff. They don't know who this guy is, but I suppose they should have had more dialogue where there's just something about him. I don't know. I feel like I should help this guy. That kind of thing, you know. They ought to make it more mystic, I suppose. But they really didn't, other than Nora saying, oh, he looks like, you know, my dad. So, whatevs, I don't know. Yeah, he sees the old captain. He's not captain yet and stuff like that from the police department. And then Joe finds a blue glowing turd on the floor and picks it up and gets possessed by it. And this is another weak spot because the actual villain is not Reverse Flash at this point. It's apparently the avatar of the negative speed force, which I never liked any of that crap. And I would have rather, what if you just had two versions of Thawne here messing with time and that kind of thing. But, well, I don't know. Stupid. And so Thawne and Barry confront each other, and Barry realizes he can't kill Thawne. It'd be the only way to stop him from killing his mother, or, you know, him. You know, he keeps going back and forth which one he's going to do. And because then his family and little Nora and all that would never happen, and that sort of thing. And what was the other reason he can't? Anyway, he can't do it. You know, Thawne goes through with this, so they use the footage of the battle between them. There's more confrontation between them and discussing it, and Barry tries to talk him out of it. He will not do it. And his mother's killed yet again. And then they recreate the scene where the younger Flash shows up, and Barry warns him off, says don't do it. And then he goes back, and we'd always seen this where Reverse Flash, he's speeding away from the crime scene, and he can't go back forward to the future. And he's, what's going on? And he talks to his computer, and he says, oh, well, you extended your ability to time travel or something like that. And he's like, oh no! And but really, Barry shows up to tell him, I just wanted to thank you. You gave me one more chance to be with my parents, because I've long ago accepted that this is a point in time that can never be changed without serious ramifications and all that. And then Barry mysteriously disappears in blue light and all that stuff again. So I guess it's the Avatar did it. And then there's Thawne like, oh, so he has to go do his plot. That was the first season of The Flash. So, just on the surface of it, it's not bad, but like I said, there's problems here and there, and of course the odds that they didn't think it through, probably pretty good. And it's also, this Thawne, it would seem like he's the one who dealt with a Flash that no longer exists as far as this goes, or this timeline, or what have you. Because he would have been a Flash that became the Flash a little older and all that sort of thing. And then Thawne messing with all of this made this happen. And yet it's not. It's the other Barry. But then how does Thawne even know this Flash and all that? So, missing something here, you know. And then, of course, how does Thawne exist anyway when he's been rubbed out of time and then he lost his speed and all this stuff? But this is the original Thawne, so yeah. But you know, if he's the original Thawne, where's the original Barry? Yeah, well, okay. Finally, Eddie Thawne, who's supposed to be a distant ancestor to Eobard Thawne, Reverse Flash, who was Iris's first boyfriend in the first season, but then he died. And the thing about him is that the guy kind of looked like Barry Allen should look from the comics. And lo and behold, he has an accident in his lab, just like Barry did, with the lightning bolt hitting him, and he smashes into the chemicals, and it looks like he's got speed powers now. And then there's a file laying on the floor talking about Eddie Thawne, but this guy is not Eddie Thawne. He just looks like him. He's from another Earth, apparently, or timeline. And perhaps, just perhaps, they're going to explore this even more, and we'll see how this plays out. I mean, is this guy, we're going to reveal that he's actually Barry Allen from another universe? You know, I don't, maybe so. I don't know. But that's kind of odd that he would look like that, you know, and that there's some sort of relation between the two, you know. But anyway, that's how they end it with the, what's this mean? And we don't know until, well, tune in next week, you know. So that's the deal. And amazingly enough, it's not that bad. There's stumbles here, there's stupid stuff, there's, you know, a couple of dumb lines of dialogue and that sort of thing. But it's like, oh, why couldn't you keep doing this? Of course, again, I think the show should have ended several seasons ago. I don't know, maybe 5 could have been good enough for the material they had, because they obviously didn't have enough, and ended on something like this, and it would have been good. You know, if you had the material for 9 seasons, well, I guess go for it, but they really didn't. And my God, all the filler and the conversations in the hallway and all that sort of stuff. And you got this. I don't know. You got it. Next week, they swap places, do the same dialogue. You know, so, yeah, I'll see if the rest of the episodes are as good, and that'll be a nice send-off for it, despite massive damage being done. So I can't really save it, but it's interesting. But I'm guessing something like this was always thought of, at least in outline form, perhaps, that, hey, we'll end it by recreating how it all started and that type of thing. And looks like that's what they're going to do. So, unfortunately, yes, the blue turd is the real villain, and that's a big problem, at least from my point of view. But anyway, there you go. Surprise, surprise, it was an okay episode of The Flash.